And I also think there needs to be a bridge created. So I always say this, the Black community has so much to learn from the Jewish community. So much to learn.
Just 5 years ago, Candace Owens sat across from Dennis Prager on her PragerU show, passionately defending Judeo-Christian values and praising the moral clarity of the Jewish people. Fast forward to today, and Candace sounds like a completely different person. From once aligning herself with Israel's defenders to now echoing talking points that many call dangerously hostile to Jews and the Jewish state, the transformation is undeniable. What happened to Candace Owens? Was it politics, pressure, or a complete ideological shift? Watch this clip in full and decide for yourself. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Why do you think Candace changed so drastically on Israel and Judaism?
Well, I'll give you a good example of that. A guy called my show a number of years ago, and he goes, because people know they can say anything to me, which is exactly your point. I'm not going to pounce on them. So a guy calls up and he goes, Dennis, let's face it, Jews control Hollywood. So, of course, I know 90% of the listeners, and maybe even he, expected me to say, you're an anti-Semite and hang up the phone. Instead, I said, do you know, the truth is Jews are disproportionately powerful in Hollywood. You're absolutely right. What's your point? And there was total silence. He had no point. And I went on, I said, can you show me one way in which this has benefited Jews? Can you name a movie in the last 40 years that shows Israel in a positive light? That shows Jews in a positive light? And it was all of this received silence.
I love that. Because that is literally how you win.
That's exactly.
That's how you win.
Yes.
You don't need to be offended.
So the listener is clear. Well, this guy really doesn't have a point. He just wanted to attack Jews. But I didn't have to say that. And he wanted me to get. But it's very hard to upset.
He wanted you to get upset because actually what you prove when you do get upset is that you can't answer the question and there's something there. So if you said, your question is anti-Semitic, then he's like, what's he hiding? What's he hiding? Why are they controlling Hollywood?
The calm one wins.
Yeah, the calm one always wins. And I've seen more and more appearances of people, and understandably, I mean, I've seen people on stage and they say, well, how can you... as a Christian person, Charlie Kirk got attacked and he didn't actually end up answering the question. But how can you, as a Christian person, stand next to a gay person? And the whole idea of why they're asking these questions is to elicit a response from you. But the best way for us to win is for us to be able to answer the questions.
That's
so,
right.
Number one question that I get about Judaism or my stance on Judaism, which I always say I have not ever looked into the issue, so I'm not prepared to answer the question. I actually always say, ask Dennis Prager. Call his show and ask Dennis Prager. Is how could you possibly stand on the side of Israel having its own state? Doesn't that make you a Zionist? Doesn't that make you, Dennis, somebody who wants to see the Arabs in that region hurt? How could you possibly stand on that?
Well, I actually have a PragerU video on that subject. We have a number on Israel. I ask people who attack Israel a question. There are 220 countries approximately in the world. There are, I believe, 52 Muslim countries. There are, I think, 24 or so Arab countries. There's one Jewish country the size of New Jersey. Why, of all these countries, have you isolated that one for attack?
Because because it's really wrong what's happened to the Palestinians in that region. Right. That's why I'm isolating, because you guys are doing really bad stuff. That's why.
Right. Okay. So there's room for 24 Arab states, but not one Jewish state, and only Jewish states have ever existed in the land called Palestine. Palestine is a Roman name. It's not an Arab name. It was given by the Romans to blot out the name Judea, which was the original name of the area. So there have only been 3 independent states in that area in all of history. All 3 have been Jewish states. The first one destroyed in 586 BC, the second in 70 AD, and the third resurrected in 1948 AD. That's it. They've all been Jewish. There has never been a Palestine. There has never been any other independent state there. People wandered in and out. Arabs lived there. Jews lived there. Christians lived there. And that's what it is.
You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the state's called, right? It's the Arab people, and they are suffering. And they were peaceful. It was a peaceful place until the Jews got there.
Right. Well, it wasn't a peaceful place till the Jews got there. That's
I'm
somewhat.
just giving you the stuff.
I know. No, of course. I hear this stuff all the time. I deal
I'm
with
like,
it all
when
the
was
time.
it peaceful?
Okay. Then I return to this. Okay. So I'm curious. In light of the fact that you're so worried about people's oppression in the founding of a country, why is Pakistan legitimate? I wrote a piece on this. Pakistan, millions of Hindus and Muslims were killed, millions, in the creation of Pakistan, which never existed in history, ripped out a Muslim state out of India.
I didn't know that.
Yes, in the same year, 1947. Israel was founded 48. This was founded in 47. Millions of refugees from both sides, cadaver trainloads of dead people shipped back and forth, Hindus to India, Muslims to Pakistan. Why is Pakistan legitimate? Far more suffering, far more rape, far more torture and murder. There is something wrong, morally wrong, about isolating Israel. I don't know a country that was founded in pure peace. It doesn't exist. But you have decided to pick on only Israel, the only Jewish state in the world. That is all of a sudden illegitimate.
You know why I love why I love that you're saying this, and this is the reason why. So I actually gave my entire CPAC speech on not obviously I did not give my CPAC speech on Judaism or the Israel state, but I did it on slavery. And I said, why of all of the nations that have had slavery and that have slavery still today that exist in Africa, right? I went into Ghana. I talked about all of the countries that still have slavery today. Why are you picking on America? Why have we isolated America?
That's correct.
And then I went in, and my thesis was really, human history is complicated. It was brutish. It was ugly. It was short. People died. We know that, right? We have now moved into, this is the first time ever that we've moved into this period of morality. I mean, you could go back to talk about the tragedies that were suffered during World War II. I mean, people are still alive and have seen things that you'd be like, oh my gosh, you couldn't wrap your head around. But what I hate so much about the left is that they make it seem like it's only the West. Right? It's only matters when the West does it.
That's right.
And that's what they're really after. It's about demonizing the West, not helping the East.
That has nothing to do with slavery. Was universal. The only serious question, if you're morally serious and the left is not, the only morally serious question is not who had slaves, it's who ended slavery.
That's what I said in my CPAC speech. And you know who it happens to be? Gosh darn it, those white men. They were the ones that ended it first. Those white Westerners that we're supposed to hate.
And to make it worse, white Christians.
And that makes it so much worse. And I did that my whole speech. I went through every empire. I mean, I'm like, and I said, what I've realized fundamentally, Dennis, is the left has no idea that the world existed before 1776. Everything starts and ends with America.
Now before 1619, right. But I get your point.
You know what I mean? Like, they want to go back to 1619, but like they have no idea. So when they start talking about what they did, it always starts at America, the United States of America. Everything that happened is relevant if it happened in America. Even if it's outside of America right now, it's irrelevant. It only matters within America.
Right. Do they know that there were far more slaves enslaved by Muslims than by Christians?
Arabs. The number one slavers of the world were the Arabs. It always has been, and they still are number one today.
The word, I know Arabic. The word for slave in Arabic is the same word as the word for black.
What is it?
Abid.
No way.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Wait, I have to write that down too. Abid. Yeah, this is where I do my research. That is so funny. So the word that means the word black, and it's the same word for slave. That's incredible. It's so sad, and it's so true, and it's so it just speaks even louder to what the left does in being able to convince people towards their own misery. Right? Explain to me how blacks, you get convinced.
Left is a misery inducer.
It's a misery inducer, and it makes you fight for your own misery. That's the uniqueness. And that's why, in a certain way, I almost have to respect the Machiavellian brilliancy, right, behind what they've been able to do, right? They are able to not only make you miserable, but get you to fight for your misery.
That's right.
They got Black Americans to fight for their misery.
And
they get women to
Hispanics.
fight for their misery. Jewish people to fight for it, and they're able to do that.
They got Jews to hate Israel.
They did. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. I speak to them, I'm like, wow. I mean, and I'm sitting here arguing with them, trying to say, and I just ask questions. I'm not here to pretend to be an expert, but I know what you know. The world was always ugly, so why does it only matter? And it's only relevant when you go back in history. It's like, but Jewish people. I'm like, do you know what this world was? None of us are without sin. Actually, to think that is a godless position. It's a godless position to believe. As soon as you understand Western civilization, you realize there would be no Western civilization if it wasn't for Judeo-Christian
Right,
values.
but the left doesn't care
And they
because
don't care.
they're okay with no Western civilization.
Right.
Just to say the West is better makes you a racist.
That's correct. It's
As if we're saying white is better,
ethnocentric.
which is a joke.
And they know it's true, because then you say to them, why don't you send your kids to Iran? Why don't you, you've been fighting a lot for the Arabs. Why don't you just consider raising your children in an Arab nation?
Right.
Oh, no, I don't. Well, why?
Right.
Because you
Where
know
will you be treated
that
better
the West
as a woman?
is better. Because
Where?
you know it. Right. It never is. Like you just said about Pakistan. How Pakistan was founded proves that it's not the issue of what's going on in the Israel-Palestinian.
Tibet? I mean, that's one of the most ancient nations on earth, and the Chinese have wrecked it, destroyed it, ruined it, Sinified it. And where are the demonstrations on that one?
Well, they're not. If the Chinese people were white, there would be plenty.
Oh, or Jewish.
Or
Yes,
Jewish. There
that's
would
correct.
be. Well, you forgot.
Yes.
Jewish is white now. It's just skin color.
Well, except the joke is half of Israel's Jews are not white.
I know. And that's the truth. And so I think I want to wrap this by saying that it is so important for people to understand history, world history, and to really rely upon people that are older to tell you what the world was like, even when they were living it. Because as we see that we have the left that is treading towards trying to make us believe that everybody is a victim and they've only been victimized by one type of individual, that being a white, Jewish and white male, and a religious person. It couldn't be further from the truth. And all you have to do is look back at human history to understand how countries became countries, what happened before 1776, to debunk every single thing, every single factoid, non-factoid that the left gives you can be permanently destroyed if you understand world history. There needs to be, and I also think there needs to be a bridge created. So I always say this, the Black community has so much to learn from the Jewish community. So much to learn from the Jewish community.
Oh, you know what Israel means? Right? God chooses a people called Israel in the Bible. Know what it means? It says it there. Nobody knows this. It says it means to struggle with God.
To struggle with
A Muslim woman called my radio show once and she said, I know you studied Arabic, I know you studied the Quran, so I'm very curious, why aren't you a Muslim? And I said, thank you for the call. I'm honored that you would even want to know the answer, but I have an answer for you. Here is my answer, my short answer. Islam in Arabic means submit.
It does.
Submit to God. Israel in Hebrew means struggle with God. I rather struggle with God than submit to God. And she said, thank you.
Wow.
Because she realized that's right. He's right. I submit. He struggles.
You are such a sage. You're an absolute sage.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you are.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.